my last single film review. The next two would be trilogies and total saga, but today I'm talking about the one movie that made me even want to start this review process. The one movie that has got everyone up at arms right now, and that is The Rise of Skywalker. To start out with, there are a lot of things that this movie could have done better, but I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. These people are saying that this is the worst movie out there for Star Wars. People are saying that this is the worst movie of this trilogy and all of this other stuff, and I don't see the hateful, or I don't see where they're getting their basis on, because I have laid out a lot of stuff in this review process that these movies do well, and that these movies do accurately, and that tie over from other films, and that's where a lot of people stop and don't understand why they do it a certain way. It's because you're supposed to look at this entire story as a whole, which I will get into in my very last video. But for today, I'm going to focus in on Rise of Skywalker, and I'm going to start with, simply, Palpatine. A lot of people say that they hated that he came back off screen. Did he? He explicitly says that he has been every voice that Kylo Ren has heard inside of his head. Then he goes to the Palpatine voice, the Snoke voice, and the Vader voice. So he was been manipulating Kylo Ren this whole time. So technically he was already there. If your problems with this movie lie in that you don't see him come back in this film on screen, then that is your problem through this entire trilogy, because he has been here the entire time. Whether that was Disney's or Lucasfilms or whoever's plan, it doesn't matter at this point. This is what they put forward, and this is what we've kind of got to accept as far as the law of that galaxy. Remember that this is that galaxy, not our world and our planet's rules. This is something that these characters have been living with the entire time. So just because we don't plan it does not mean that that wasn't existing in their galaxy from the start. Finn's mask, I kind of touched on it in my last video of how when he smashed it, it kind of tied into his story arc. When him getting it repaired shows the cracks, and it's even stated by Rey that she can see through the cracks of his mask, showing that he's still a fragile little boy, or pretty much just a fragile little person inside of that mask that doesn't really know who he is, and that he's being torn apart. And those cracks, that red crack, it's something that somebody touched on in another video that I can't remember the channel and did it, but they were talking about how that's how Chinese and the Asian world, or the Asia world I should say, kind of creates their dishes, is they break them and then they in the cracks they fill them with like gold type of like filament, affiliate, and that like it's meant to symbolize something. That is what the cracks in his helmet are meant to symbolize, is his struggle, is the impurity of what's going on inside of him. So a lot of people said that why does he need a mask? Because he doesn't necessarily need it, but it's the visual aid to tell his story. Speaking of something else that a lot of people had grief on in the first episode 7 was, why do we need another Death Star? I'm going to lay it out as plainly as I can without trying to sound cocky or arrogant or like I'm talking down to anyone, because I'm not. The first Death Star was the first Death Star. The second Death Star was meant to be bigger, was meant to be shown to be improved upon, but it didn't get finished. Starkiller Base was now an improvement on that technology, to where it's not killing one system or one planet at a time, it's killing a system at a time, where you saw them wipe out like, what was it, 5 to 6 planets in the episode 7. You didn't get that in episode 8 because it wasn't a part of that storyline. And then you get it here, where now there's those cannons underneath all of the Star Destroyers that are in the Sith fleet that can destroy every planet that they pretty much tirade over. And the reason that they need it, the reason that that is an important piece of telling, is that's what they are. They are somebody, or they are a government body that governs off of fear. And if your system, your planet is gonna talk out against the Empire, you're not gonna do it anymore, because you have that fear that above you, this Star Destroyer is gonna destroy your whole planet. So the thought process of doing a rebellion is almost extinguished at that point, because they have that fear that they don't want to destroy their planet and kill everyone around them. Another thing was, a lot of people didn't like that Luke was done the way he was, because they say that, oh, he was retconned by J.J. Abrams. Was he? Because at the start of episode 8, I laid it out that he was cut off from the Force. So him tossing the lightsaber doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't care for that in episode 9, because you see that through the entire movie that he becomes part of the Force once again. He learns to appreciate the Jedi because of Rey. Rey brings him back to wanting to touch back into the Force, and then that's whenever you get in episode 9 in this movie where he grabs a lightsaber and says a Jedi's weapon should be treated with more respect. That is more him talking to himself, not JJ talking to Rian Johnson, as a lot of people want to speculate. It is not that. Even though it might be in our world, in that world it is not. That is Luke talking to himself, saying that he was wrong in that moment to toss that lightsaber over his shoulder. Hux was teased to be the spy at the end of episode 8, and I didn't catch it until I rewatched it and then watched episode 9 going in, so I don't know if a lot of people caught that, but he was there. I just wanted to mention that. Another thing was Rose getting sidelined. Not necessarily. They did have a plan for her in this movie. They wanted her to be more a part of it, but she was meant to be alongside Leia. And with her being, or with the extremely untimely passing of Carrie Fisher, it was hard to do a lot of Rose's scenes without Carrie Fisher being there to actually record this footage and new footage. So they just couldn't get her scenes to line up with the footage that they had archived from the other movies of Carrie Fisher, and that is why a lot of her scenes did get cut. She was supposed to have a bigger part of this movie, I believe, but they just couldn't find a way to do it with the rotoscoping of previous Leia's footage on a body double. So Rose didn't necessarily get sidelined, it's just that they couldn't find a way to believably make her scenes work. This was an outstanding performance from Anthony Daniels. This was a lifetime achievement role. Like, he just did so well in this movie. I'm glad that they gave him a bigger role as 3PO, because he just sold this movie for me. Like, between him and Chewbacca. I'm going to touch on Chewbacca because Chewie made me gasp whenever we thought he died, and then I cry every time he breaks down after hearing Leia's gone. He, to me, has the most heartbreaking journey through these 3 films out of everyone. He loses Han, then he loses Luke, then he loses Leia, and while Lando could very well have gone through that same process, it's not as impactful as seeing Chewie break down, and to me that is just heart-wrenching at its finest. And speaking of Leia's death, it ties in nicely. Leia sacrificed herself. She transferred her life force, the last bit of strength, into Kylo Ren. That's why he stopped in that fight. And then Rey stabs him, and then that is the moment that Leia dies in this movie, is when Kylo Ren gets stabbed. So Rey knows that she stabbed Leia, not Kylo Ren. And immediately goes back and heals Ben. There is a distinction between the two, between Kylo Ren and Ben at this moment. Kylo Ren is now dead, 100%. Leia sacrificed herself for this very reason, so that she could save her son. And she needed this moment to happen because she needed Rey there. Period. Like, there was no way her sacrifice would have worked had had Rey not been there. And then whenever he fades because of his mother. His mother pulls her son, in my opinion, pulls her son's Force essence, the remainder of his dying spirit, into being a Force ghost. And that's why he didn't necessarily need to have that training as far as the other Jedi have, because Leia pulls him there, in my opinion. It hasn't been confirmed nor denied, so that's what I'm going with. That is my headcanon. The Palpatine plan. It's one of those things where you saw it in Return of the Jedi. He died in that movie because he changed his plan. He wanted to use Luke as a vessel to transfer his energy into Luke, but he doesn't, because Luke doesn't do what he needs, so he tries to kill him, and then Vader kills him. Now he changes his plans again because Ben and Rey are going to stand against him, and he's like, forget it, you guys aren't going to do what you need to do. I'm going to steal you. I'm going to steal your life essence, pull it into me until I can find somebody to actually do what I need. He was wanting to do that originally with Anakin. Again, this is a entire thing that I'm going to touch on in the final video. But now it's more so just him not trusting in his vision going sideways, and him changing his plan. And that's why he dies in this movie. It's because he changed his plan once again to instead of using another vessel, he's going to try to kill that person. And it doesn't work out. Death does not work for him. He kills himself, essentially. The last thing I want to touch on in this movie is the fan service. And this is the reason, the glaring reason why I make these videos, is because finally we get somebody to listen to us. We're like, we want Rey to be a somebody. Alright, let's make her a Palpatine. We want, this thing to happen. You want Reylo. You want everything to happen this certain way. And then Disney's like, alright, this is the final movie of this saga. Here, we're gonna give it to you. And what do y'all do? Pretty much spit in their face if you don't like this movie. You might not like the narrative, you might not like the execution, and that's 100%. But if you don't like the content that it's telling, because of that, I don't respect that opinion personally. That is a personal opinion of mine. You have every right to your opinion. I have every right to mine. And I just don't respect that you don't like this movie because of all this fan service. You're like, oh, they just threw this script together. And I'm like, kinda. They had to write around recently passed or untimely death of Carrie Fisher. They had to figure out how to make the fans happy because you won't shut up. And then now look at it. This is what we got, and I absolutely love this film. This film is an amazing piece of art, in my opinion. Could it have been better? Yes. But the fan service of everything going into it, and y'all just come back and spit in their face, and it's kind of irritating as a fan to try to deal with the fandom, because yes, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I want to make that perfectly clear that I understand that there are people that feel a certain way and they're allowed to feel that way. This isn't me coming at people saying that I'm better than anyone. I'm not. I know that. I have a lot of flaws. I have a lot of opinions that on personal things that have happened to me that kind of fix my worldview on stuff, but it's just like this movie gave us what we wanted as far as the fandom. Not everybody wanted her to be a somebody. Not everybody wanted her or wanted Reylo. Some people wanted Rey and Finn to be together, but it's just they give us kind of what we wanted, and we don't like it. Apparently, is what we're being told by the fans, and just enjoy it. Take it for what it is. Say what you don't like about it, but don't say it's necessarily a bad movie because of that, because that's a 100% subjective thing about you. Is you feel that way. But that doesn't make it a bad film. It makes it something that you didn't enjoy, but it doesn't make it a bad film. Is what I guess I would leave it off as. So I hope I didn't, hurt anyone's feelings. I hope I didn't make anybody feel angry or anything like that. That's not necessarily the plan, but if you did, I can't fix you. I can't tell you how to feel. I can only tell you the way I see it as a film or an aspiring filmmaker and an aspiring scriptwriter. And I hope you come back for my next 2 videos. I do hope that you got something out of these previous videos that I've done and get something out of the final 2 videos that I do that will be released today. So I do hope that you kind of enjoyed it and now understand it a little bit deeper. Thank you for watching.